Welcome back to the podcast. This week we are joined with our friend Ellen, who also went to LeTourneau University and graduated with a degree in computer science and engineering. Thanks for joining us, Ellen.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So, the first thing we like to talk about on the podcast is what got you into the degree you're in and kind of the path that you took through school. Jake and I know a little bit about your story through engineering school and how you found computer science. We'd love for you to share that with the listeners.
Yeah, so it really starts back in high school. My parents were very adamant that we all got or like some sort of STEM degree. My dad's a computer scientist, and my mom's an English major, so she can't really talk. But that was kind of the idea, and so I knew I wanted to go in engineering because I was good at math and science. And I knew what my dad did, and I was adamant. I'm like, I do not want to go into computer science ever. It looks so boring. You sit at a desk. It's all boys who smell bad, and I never want to do that. So I'm going to go as far away as possible.
Cutting everybody out. I like it.
I know. That's what I thought. And so I was like, I'm going to go far away as possible and go to biomedical engineering. It sounds like there's a lot of girls in it. You get to do like more biology type situation. I like that it was cross different STEM fields. And so I went to LeTourneau with that degree. Within a semester, I decided that it sounded too hard to get a job right out of college with a biomed degree. And I wasn't sure if I wanted to go to grad school. And so I thought I'll be a little more general and switched to mechanical. Also, my first semester, I took a computer science class, and I had never done anything with computer science. My dad had given me a textbook and said, Ellen, learn computer science. You'll like it. So I try to read myself into computer science. It does not go well. That's not how you should do it. And so I took the class thinking I would hate it. I ended up loving it. I'm like, this is really easy, but this might just be a fluke because it's an intro class. I'll wait. But I switched to mechanical, did that for a semester. And then I went to the career fair that sophomore year at LeTourneau, and I got a degree at a manufacturing company because I was a mechanical technically. And so I might have said that I was still weighing the options of whether I wanted to stay in mechanical or computer science because I wasn't sure. So that next summer I had a manufacturing job, which was good fun. But I also ended up doing tons of programming because no one knew how to do Excel macros. So I basically just programmed in VBA. I didn't know VBA going into it, but it sounded a lot more interesting than the other project they had for me, which was writing instruction manuals. So did a hard path. Yeah, and I'm like, I'll try to learn something I don't know. So that after that summer, I knew for sure I wanted to do computer science, and I took the second computer science intro class, and I thought it was really easy again, and I liked it. So then I was fully committed.
And my dad was right.
My dad was right. I mean, I was still right about what it's like to be a computer science.
So I guess paint the picture for us. How many other women were in the classes with you for computer science?
Okay, so there'd always be at least
90,
one.
10, at least one.
So my classes were like 10 to 30 people, and there was always like the same one or two girls in every class.
All right.
Yeah, so
a little outnumbered.
The weird thing is I didn't really hang out with the girls in my class. Not that I had anything personal against them. I just didn't, and they didn't try to hang out with me. So I ended up just hanging out with like one or two guys in my class who were like showered regularly and were smart and nice and respectful. And that's how I got through.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, that's good. So you made it, so you did like essentially 1 year of where you thought you were going to be an engineer. I mean, the classes are pretty much the same, but then you switched right before your sophomore year?
Yeah, the classes ended up being the same pretty much the whole way through, so I was still able to graduate in 4 years. I also did community college in high school because in Minnesota you can do it for free, and so I got all of my physics, all of my up to Calc 2 done, and like a stats class done before I graduated high school.
That's wise. Those classes kicked my butt in college.
Yep.
So Minnesota Community College is free?
Yeah, it's called Post-Secondary Enrollment Option, or PSEO. I heard about it because my mom was friends with a lot of homeschoolers, so homeschoolers really like to do it. The public school I went to for high school did not advertise it because they lose money if you go there. But I think my mom just handled it. She's like, you're doing this. And I was like, okay. And so my senior year of high school, my first semester, I only had speech at high school. And my second semester, I was never there. And I was very fine with it. So I kind of skipped out in the last year and a half of high school.
So that's kind of something I want to ask. Did you have a guidance counselor at all in high school that, imparted wisdom upon you about making decisions for your future?
I had a guidance counselor. Since it was alphabetical, it was the same person for all of my siblings. I have 3 older siblings. Yeah. I don't think she never, it was basically my mom going in and telling her what to do.
See, that's my experience with all guidance counselors.
Yeah.
This is what I want. Okay.
Yeah, I would just basically go in and be like, hey, I want to switch to this class. And they'd be like, okay, I can make it happen. So at least our guidance counselor was very understanding and nice. And
that's good.
But she had so many students that she can't have one-on-one plans for all of her students.
How big was your high school?
How big? 1,600. 400 a class.
Oh.
Yeah.
Snap.
Yeah, 400 a class, 1,600 total.
From a little podunk show, that's one class is the size of my high school.
Yeah.
So then, after your switch to computer science, did you have any more internships through college, or did you just do classes?
Yeah, so the summer after my junior year, I got an internship with Garmin in Kansas City as a software engineer. I'd previously applied to them as a mechanical engineer, got rejected, reapplied as a software engineer. Yep, it's very hard to get a mechanical engineering internship there. Software, there's plenty of people, so the bar is a little lower. So I got in. And I loved it. It was super great. I love the company. I liked Kansas City. I just didn't want to live 8 miles away or 8 hours away from mountains, and also spending my 20s in Kansas sounded like a real bummer. When at the end of the summer, you got to apply for full-time work. And so I saw that they had an office in Tucson. So I applied there and I got the job. And so that's where I'm working now. So I got my job offer for full-time after college in September before my senior year.
Oh, you're kidding me.
Yeah. So I went, I had to accept that early. I was supposed to accept in August, but I asked for an extra month because I said I was thinking about grad school, which I kind of was. But then I found out how much work you have to do. And I was like, nah, I'll wait. And also, Garmin will pay for my grad school if I get A's.
Yeah, so I mean, that was wow. So that made your senior year pretty non-stressful, knowing you had a job. It was
non-stressful. Yes, it was really nice. Yeah. It was kind of hard to see all my friends be stressing about what they were going to do, and I was just sitting there ooh, I have a job already. Yeah,
it was Nicole and I complaining.
Yeah,
hey, we still don't have a job.
But I'm like, I don't know. It's hard. I'm like, well, it's pretty nice. So it's not stressful except for one class called Microcomputer Design, where you have to build a computer from scratch and program it. And if it doesn't work, you fail and you don't graduate. And it's very hard.
That's added stress.
So that was my last semester. It was terrible. You guys were there. Just a second, my dog, Roscoe. And so, so I was the teacher adamantly will fail you and you'll have to come back the next year. So I was really stressed. I'm I'll lose my job offer. My life will be ruined, basically. But I came through. I pulled some late nights. I got some help from friends. And it worked out.
Jake and I were there for moral support.
You were there for moral support. Yes, you guys were there for moral support. I had so much moral support.
Moral support, comedic relief, all those things.
Yeah, sharing and suffering.
Yeah, we were all doing our projects that were required to graduate in the same room. So Jake and I were on the same senior design team, and then Ellen was doing microcomputer design, and we all were pretty miserable in the same little room together, and it really bonded us.
So Ellen, besides microcomputer design, what other computer science engineering classes, I guess, did you enjoy the most, or were extremely hard, or you enjoyed the least, or that you felt like you learned the most in, or felt like were most valuable?
Yeah, so the most valuable were actually probably the first two, Computer Science 1 and Data Structures, just because it gives you the, like, structure and
the foundation.
The foundation, exactly, for computer science, especially since I had never done anything. So if you, like, came into college knowing how to program, which a lot of people did, which honestly was, like, so stressful to me, knowing I was, like, in a class where 90% of the kids there already knew a lot of what we were going to learn. And so thankfully, though, the teacher was, like, really cool about it, and he was like, you can, like, get an A in this class even if you've never programmed. And so that helped a lot. And once I got those two down, the rest of your computer science is a lot of just, like, theory and reading textbooks, which I found pretty boring. It definitely helped me have a good knowledge of, like, what's out there and, like, what sort of computer science I want to do, because you can do, like, networks, network security, data structures. You can do, like, web design and more, like, internet stuff. But I definitely wanted to go to, like, low-level operating system, hardware type stuff, and so that's what I work in now. So that was good to, like, understand what's out there so I could pick. But honestly, like, for my job, I probably use microcomputer design and Google the most. Like, I've learned so much from the internet and computer science. It's probably, like, the biggest resource you could ever have. I don't know how people learned how to program before it. That would just be so hard. They probably read books, which I've started reading books for my job, which is, they're pretty boring, but they help.
Yeah, gotcha. I really like just copy and paste it from Stack Overflow. And
oh yeah, Stack Overflow.
Oh yeah,
is
it's
the
totally
best.
mine. I swear.
Yeah.
Yeah,
no, you do that at work.
How did people get through college before the internet?
I honestly don't know.
Chegg was the best money I ever spent. I will tell you that, though. Okay, so you worked at Garmin as an intern, and then you started there full time. What kind of projects do you get to do at Garmin? Like, is Garmin split off, like, by division, or is it just kind of like everybody does everything? If that makes sense.
Yeah. So Garmin has different departments. I think that's what they call them. I should know this. But so they have, like, outdoor, they have fitness, they have marine, they have aviation, and wellness. I'm probably messing that one up. And so you work in different departments. So they're like a super broad company. When I was an intern, I was in aviation. It definitely helped me learn a lot doing that job, but I found it pretty boring because there's just, like, hundreds and hundreds of software people working on, like, one project. And so as an intern, they have, like, different years of code for different hardware releases, but they're all, like, basically the same. And so they'll find a bug fix for, like, the newest hardware, and then they have to copy that to every previous year. And so as an intern, you're given those tickets, is what they're called. And then you just look at what someone else did and then integrate it into old code. And sometimes you have to, like, change a few different things, but it's pretty mindless. It's good to, like, get an idea of what's in the code base, but I knew I was going to be doing that for a few years, so I decided to try to get in a different department. So I got in outdoor. Also, that's the only office they have in Tucson. So our outdoor segment, we make dog products. We make tracking and training collars for dogs.
Oh wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
What's a training collar? Like, it just to be a good boy?
Yeah. So our, like, most, like, target demographic of who buys our collars are, like, hunters or, like, professional dog trainers. So it's not really for, like, your household pet. And so if you're, like, hunting with your dog, like going after some raccoons or something, you can, like, track all your dogs on a handheld and, like, see them on the map. And then you can also do training, and so you can do tone, which is just like a beep, vibe, which is just like vibration, and then stim, which people call shocking, but in the dog world it's stim.
Shocking's a frowned upon term.
Frowned upon term. Yeah, so we make those dog collars and the handhelds that go with them, and that's basically it, because the Tucson office was previously called Tritronics, but they were bought by Garmin because Tritronics did training and Garmin did tracking because of GPS, but they both wanted to do both, and so Garmin just bought Tritronics.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's pretty interesting. I actually think my granddad might have one of these because he has a lot of hunting dogs for bird hunting, and I do know that it does vibrate, beep, and stim.
Yeah, I mean, this company has been around for a long time, and they're like the leader in more like hunting dogs. There's some other like competition, but I think we've been around the longest. So it's possible. Okay. Some of them still work from like the 1980s, and they still work. Like people sell them on eBay.
And those are the Tritronics or the Garmin?
Tritronics. Yeah, those would be Tritronics. Garmin acquired them in like, I should know this, probably like the early 2000s or maybe 2010s. Pretty recently.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what specifically are you doing, like you or your group, what are you doing for these dog collars / trackers?
Yeah, so the office is pretty small. It only has about 15 engineers, and so probably like 2/3 are software, 2/3 are electrical engineers, and then there's like 3 mechanical engineers and then management. And so each team is comprised of an electrical engineer and a software engineer and a mechanical engineer. And so I'm working on a dog collar right now. And so I'm doing all of the low-level software is what I would be. So we have high-level software and low-level. And so the high-level people typically work on the handhelds that have the like GUI user interface screens. Okay. And then since the dog collar doesn't have a screen, I do all of the like operating system stuff with like all the different features and making sure everything's like working together, because we have a lot of different signals. Like we have radio VHF, we have Bluetooth, and which is like our special wavelength, Wi-Fi, low energy Bluetooth. Yeah, so we have a lot of different signals that all come off of it, and you have to like synchronize all of it.
That's cool. And so what, on the hardware side, are you also involved in the creating of like the microcomputer that's in the collar, or is that kind of set already and then you're just working on programming it?
Yeah, so the microcontroller we just like buy from a different company, and then the electrical engineer is in charge of like the layout and all of the different chips on it. But before they like send it out to get manufactured, the low-level software engineers have to look through it, make sure we have like all of the test points we want. We have like resistors so we can measure different voltages. Yeah, we get a lot of input into like what's on the board and what's not on the board, but we aren't the one designing it.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so you have to know like circuit layouts to do my job.
Well, that counts me out.
Anything with circuits counts me out. That was one of my worst classes.
Oh, really? I love circuits. Yeah.
Electricity to me is like magic.
I mean, it is magic, but it's slightly predictable. A little.
I shouldn't say it's magic because I work at a power company, but it's definitely magic.
Yeah. I don't know. It just sitting there looking at those schematics, and then you got all the squiggly lines, and then I'm supposed to be doing all these calculations to figure out what it's going to be over here. I don't know. It was just always magic to me.
Yeah.
So so each year, are you putting out a new update, new advanced product that you're working on, or is it like modifying the existing? How do we get, I guess, a further range on this dog collar, or more feedback, or maybe more STEM? I don't know.
Yeah, so it's a little bit of everything. We have my project will be a new product to like replace the old ones, and it's just like better in every way because it's been a while since we've had a new dog collar come out. It's supposed to take 9 months to do a project. This project has been going on since I started college. Since before I knew how to program, this project has been going on. So it's been like restarted like 6 times. Since I've started working on it, it's been restarted twice. And the schedule just keeps getting pushed out for a variety of reasons. That's like one thing I didn't realize about engineering, especially since in college, like you have your deadline. This is what the teacher expects. And if you don't get it done, there's like no wiggle room most of the time. Some teachers are nice. And like you will fail if you don't finish it. But in like the real world, if you're behind, they're like, okay, we'll give you another week. And then if like you take too many weeks to do it, you get fired. But there's like a lot of wiggle room. They're like, okay, we'll just push the schedule out another month. It'll be fine. Which like surprises me every time we do it. But I guess you can do it.
Yeah. That's not, I guess I don't do very many projects at my job, but they don't, that is surprising. It's just like, we'll just push it a month. It'll be fine.
Yeah. Yeah, because they have like goals of when they want it out, like before a hunting season. But if they miss that, then they're like, okay, we'll wait 6 months.
We'll get the next hunting season.
Yeah, next year.
Hunting season's coming up. You better get it going quick.
We'll catch the spring hunting season.
Exactly. Okay. Exactly.
So then for prototyping, do you, I guess, like get like small batches of circuit boards made up? Like do you 3D print the case, kind of put it together, debug it? And then,
yeah. We do all that. So we get like our first prototype, and we'll usually have like 2 or 3 revs of that. And each rev takes about a month and a half to us from when it's ordered. So you definitely don't want to have to go more than 3 or you'll really be pushing the schedule. But yeah, so like mechanical engineer, we'll do mock-up tooling of what it'll look like so we can assemble the boards. And so every time we get boards, we'll get like, I think like around 100, and some of them will go to the mechanical engineer so we can fully assemble them and we can send them out to field testers. And so they give their feedback to us, which we take like very seriously, which is like 99% of the reason why this project keeps getting delayed, because the field testers come back and say, I hate this and I will never buy one. And so you have to reconsider and fix it. And so whenever those come in, the software engineers get their own that are just like bare boards and you can solder wires onto them. And then I'm like, my job on this project has a lot of it been, I program the boards every time they come in, which is very time consuming. It takes about 5 minutes to program each board. And I'll usually get around like 40 boards that I personally have to program. And so that'll just be like all day where I'm just sitting there programming boards. It's pretty boring, but it needs to be done.
Mm-hmm. Hey, if you ever need an extra field tester, I know my granddad would be happy to sign up for that. Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like everybody and their brother, I feel like everybody wants to be a field tester for hunting equipment. That's my real dream job. Just be like the guy that tests all the hunting equipment. Like, hey, give me a new gun, a new scope, a new dog collar, new GPS. Cause that's
new dog.
Yeah, new dog.
New dog.
Garmin does.
We do not provide the dog.
Oh, dang.
It's in the small print at the bottom.
Dog not provided.
We can test the training feature on my dog because it is not well trained.
Yeah, we test stuff on our own dogs. It's not always like STEM. That's like a very small part of what we do. But we'll like send her dog off into the field and track them and stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, you can bring your dog to work.
Oh.
It sounds like your office environment is really nice, Ellen.
It is really nice. There's only one downside, which is something else I never thought was the hardest part of my job is getting along with people I can't stand. Which I consider myself a pretty easygoing person. I get along with everyone. But there's this one person in my office who's like on my team, is my mentor, and he is honestly the worst. Can't stand him. So That's new.
That's new. Hopefully it's not a what no one told us listener.
I know. I mean, I'm sure you guys have lots of listeners, but I don't think he knows about the podcast.
I don't think he is either. The odds are low.
The odds are extremely low.
Oh, no. I've lost my train of thought. Oh, is it... One thing I wanted to ask. So you said there's like 15 engineers where you're at. So how many people like total? Like under 50?
Yeah, I mean, our office is just that. And then in the other building, they have customer service callers. So we have like a call center in the building over. That's probably like 50 people. But then in my office, it's like literally just 15, 20 people. Oh. We have some like software quality assurance, I guess, that adds on 3 more. But yeah, my office is very small.
Okay, so you at that specific facility, you don't actually do like the mass manufacturing.
Right. Manufacturing is all in Taiwan.
Okay.
Besides aviation. Aviation has to be manufactured in the U.S. for FAA regulation. FAA.
Is it fun to work for like a giant company at a small office? Because I feel like that'd be kind of the benefits of a small office, kind of know everybody and like have a more relaxed work environment, but you still have the benefits of a huge company. Yeah,
I definitely would say it's a plus. I do like how small it is. I know everybody, but we do get we don't get all of the benefits of like being in Kansas City. Like they have like a way better building. They have a really nice gym. They have just a really nice campus in general. They have a food court. So we don't have any of that, but we have like a very big budget. And we get like all of the training that like Kansas City can have. Like we can sign on to it remotely. And we get the big manufacturing. And so, Tritronics as a company like grew exponentially when they got the resources of Garmin to do their things.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I mean that would be something like I guess I would really like to work for a big company and just have a small office setting like that. I feel like that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, that seems like the dream.
I guess I had a... Or go ahead, Cole.
Before COVID, we'll ask, and then I'm sure during COVID you've probably been working from home quite a bit. But what was your kind of routine like when you first started your job? Were you going into the office every day? Did you kind of already have work from home options?
Yeah, so I was working in the office every day. I know, like, the people who had been there a while would take like a day or just like whenever they needed to be home to like work from home. So if you had like the cable guy coming to like fix your TV, you could just work from home the whole day, which partially is because our office is very laid back. So if you need to like take your car to like the mechanic, you don't have to like punch out for 2 hours. You can just be gone and don't have to take PTO for it or anything, because they assume you're probably working more than 40 hours a week anyways, which I definitely was. And so, I'd be there from like 8 to like 5 or 6. And then I would take an hour lunch most times, and like talk to people. So that was like the schedule before COVID. And then after COVID, we worked from home in March, and I've been working from home that whole time, except like when they first like let go of all the stay-at-home orders, they started phasing people back in. So people who like were more hardware based, like the electrical engineers and the low level software engineers, could come back into the office, since we need a lot of the equipment that's in the office. And I did that for 2 weeks, and then Arizona's COVID cases went back up, and so now I've been work from home since. It's definitely made my hours more flexible working from home. But you get your work done, and they're happy, basically. I would say I use my time more productively, because if I was in the office and sometimes I would get like sidetracked, I would just like sit there. But now if I'm like at my desk, I am working. And then if I need to do something, I just go do it and come back. So I also like work longer hours because I can work in the evenings, because my desk is like in my bedroom. And so you kind of never get a break. But I like working from home. I could see doing it for the rest of my life, but I don't think that'll happen post-COVID.
I was gonna say, really, I had a couple work from home experiences, and I don't know. I like to have a separation. Work is work, home is home.
Me too.
Yeah, the separation is nice, but I like the flexibility.
Gotcha.
That's fair.
The thing I wanted to ask was, we're all, we came out of school last year. We have basically, I guess, a year of experience in our jobs now. When you first started, did you have that kind of imposter syndrome feeling? Do you still have that feeling? Or did you just come out confident, ready to kick ass and take names?
No, I have had imposter syndrome for my entire college experience. Going into, and now still, I think I'm getting a little better. I got a performance review like a month ago, and it was all positive. So that like definitely helped me like relax. Like my boss isn't thinking about firing me every 10 minutes. Because like I legitimately used to think that like my first 2 internships, I would be like so nervous that I was going to get there and they're going to be like, this was a mistake for hiring you, and fire me that day. They're like, I couldn't eat. I was so nauseous because I thought like, I don't know, they had really high expectations for interns. They don't care. And especially being in computer science with a lot of guys who are like, oh, I've been coding since I was 5. Like I learned how to code before I could read. And they were just like very confident and would exude that they knew what they were doing. And so I definitely felt like I never belonged in any of my classes. I think the moment that I like felt like, okay, I'm doing this is like I think it was like my sophomore year, and I was sitting next to like my 2 guy friends, and we got like our coding assignments back, and not to brag, but I've gotten 100% on every coding assignment I've ever done, because it's just it works or it doesn't. And so I just always just make it work. And so we got the assignment back, and this one was like pretty hard. It was definitely like the hardest one we had done that far. And like the 2 guys next to me didn't get 100%, and they were like asking each other like, oh, like how'd you get the right answer? Like, what do you think it is? But they did not bother to ask me if I got it right, which I am very salty about. Maybe it's because they either didn't think I got it right, and so it wasn't worth asking, or they were scared I did, and they didn't want to let me know. They didn't.
They were prideful. That's what that is.
Yeah,
Guys have a lot of pride.
They do. They do have a lot of pride, and so I didn't tell them the right answer, because if they're not going to ask, they...
Exactly.
Way
to go, Ellen.
Thank you.
100%.
And these guys were both like people who like I thought were like geniuses. I'm like, these people will be like the next Elon Musk, and I was like, no, they won't. I'm doing better in this class now. I won't. So that definitely helped build my confidence, I guess, seeing other people fail, which isn't a good way, but it just like helped me give a more realistic idea of like how good I am compared to other people, because people can say what they do and like all the projects they've done. But if you're like thinking about going to computer science and you're like scared because you've never done it, like you can catch up within like a month. Like it's really not that bad.
Yeah.
Once you get the basics.
Yeah, the coding portion isn't that much, and that's what so many people have done.
Exactly.
And it sounds so scary, and then you realize everybody just Googles it. Like everybody, even if you know what you're doing, it's almost always faster to just Google it and copy somebody else.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't think very many people spend very much time reinventing the wheel.
No, it's a waste of time. Yeah. Yeah, so I definitely had a lot of imposter syndrome, but I'm getting better. But I have all this time.
I mean, I'm thinking back to my first, when I got my co-op, definitely had some good imposter syndrome there. And then starting my first job out of school, I would probably say, I think after 6 months, I started feeling more confident. And then now I'm feeling pretty confident. Obviously, I guess I feel like there's a lot of stuff I still don't know, but I guess I constantly remind myself, you don't know what you don't know. And so you can't really be held accountable for something until they actually teach you how to do it. You know?
Exactly. And everyone at some point didn't know what they know now. And so you're just learning a little bit later, but you might as well ask, so then you're all in the same place.
Exactly. Cole, did you ever have any imposter syndrome?
I mean, you can keep me honest, but I'm going to be honest, I don't think I did.
No?
You just knew it. You're like, I got this.
I don't know. I've worked a lot, and SRP is a pretty old school company where they value hard work probably more than most companies nowadays, and more than raw intelligence. And so I kind of showed up and did it the old school way, which I had known, showing up a little early, staying a little late, kind of talking to the right people, shooting the shit when it was time to shoot the shit, and, playing the game a little bit. And so I did that well with my manager, and he's a very good manager, and he was always quick to tell me, hey, man, you're doing a great job. You're being really productive. We're killing it. You're helping me be more productive. And so that really helped me, and I think I also kind of knew nobody cared what I did because I was the intern, and so they took me on anything cool. They're like, hey, we're going to go fly the drone. Want to come? And I was like, oh, if they're inviting me to do that, what I'm working on probably isn't, crazy time.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, I didn't say, nope, I can't go. I got to get this project done, because I would have been like, you're an idiot. Let's go fly the drone. And so I think it was partially my company helping me, and then also just that I had worked a lot in high school.
Gotcha. I was going to say, Ellen, so you were talking about, in school you were kind of outnumbered guys-wise. At your company, are you outnumbered still, or is it a little more balanced?
In the software department, yes. There's only 2 female software engineers, and there are 6 guys. There used to be a different girl, but she moved to a different job. But the electrical engineers have 3 girls and 1 guy. So our office at one point was 50-50. It is no longer 50-50. We hired some more guys, some girls quit. But that we were like the crowning jewel of Garmin. Like at a company-wide outdoor meeting, the VP was like, oh yeah, because someone asked a question about is Garmin trying to hire more diversity and women in engineering? And the VP was like, well, I believe in Tucson, we have 50% women in that office, which sounds really impressive until you hear there's only 15 of us. So it's well, but it's pretty good. I definitely I like hanging out with the electrical engineers. I'm friends with all of them. I kind of wish I was in their their group, but I like software more. Gotcha. But it is nice how many girls there are, because I was worried coming out of college, because all my internships were basically working at an engineering company, which meant a bunch of men my dad's age, which are fine. I get along with them. We can talk about politics and the economy, but it's really nice to have some girls, and they're all my age. My office is very young. Everyone's under 30. Pretty much.
Whoa.
Besides 4 people. There's 4 people who are actual adults. And no one else is new grads who've been out a few years.
That's amazing.
Fun. Yeah.
In my environment, we're I'm by far the youngest. I'm 23. I think the next person is 28 maybe. And then everyone else is, the majority are, upper 30s, 40s. Already have kids, so I'm kind of outnumbered. Yeah. So I guess, Ellen, do you see yourself kind of staying within Garmin, staying in that department, or do you think you might move to maybe aviation or a different department within Garmin, or pursuing maybe jobs outside of Garmin in the future?
Yeah, I see myself working here for a while. This is the top job I wanted out of college. This was the only job offer I had out of college. But it was mainly, I guess I did apply to other places and never even got an email back.
That's the worst.
That's the worst. So this is my only option. Yeah, but I wanted this one the most. So I think I put the most time and effort into getting this job. Yeah, and I really like Garmin. It has really good benefits. I really like my office. It has a good work culture on the whole. And I like Tucson where I live, but I could definitely see like moving maybe like more north, like Pacific Northwest. It's a little hot here. It's a little dry. I'm originally from Minnesota, so I like green and lakes, but I really like mountains. So we'll see.
Yeah, Tucson doesn't have the green lakes, mountains. I guess it's got like a couple.
It's got mountains. That's why I like the mountains here. But I don't see myself doing that anytime soon. So yeah, I like my job. I think I'll stay here for a while.
That's awesome. And I think we've kind of touched on this, but do you think school prepared you well for your job?
This is what I'll say. I think LeTourneau has prepared me better than what I've seen from kids who went to other colleges.
Okay,
that's
I was going to say. I mean, I felt like, Cole, we've kind of heard that from a couple of the other kind of engineers that we've interviewed from LeTourneau. It seems like LeTourneau offers more hands-on stuff that gives more experience than, say, your usual state school engineering programs. Yeah,
because I think the most valuable thing I got from LeTourneau was like working through problems that didn't have a set solution, because that is like what my job is. Like, no one knows what it's actually supposed to be, or like what the actual solution is. I just have to like figure it out. I can like ask for help from like my coworkers, but like once I've like gotten an hour or two into the problem and I try to like explain where I'm at, I have a better idea of like what the issue is than anyone else. And so when you do those hands-on projects where you don't have like any guidance, you kind of learn to what it takes to like debug something, find the solution, how long it takes, so you have like realistic expectations. Because I would say like my job is 80% sitting and thinking and 20% actually writing code. I'll spend a week on like 4 lines of code sometimes.
Ooh. That's a lot of brain power. That's
yeah.
And it's like trying things, testing it, because the difficulty, the challenge of my job is it doesn't need to just compile. It needs to load onto the board and do what I want consistently. So even if like in your head you're like, this logic should work, the board is like so much more complicated. You have like weird hardware bugs. It might not work. And so you don't know if it's a software issue or a hardware issue. In the software team, we always like to blame hardware. Hardware always likes to blame software. Right. It's usually a mix. Yeah, so I think just like being able to sit and think about something and know how to debug, because that's like the most valuable skill. And that's like the thing with like our interns who start, sometimes they just like don't know what they should do next. And you kind of like, you can hit a wall sometimes, and then you can like ask people who are more like experienced, and they'll be like, you should try this, this, and this. Even if they don't know the solution, you just need to know like what debugging tools you have and how to use them quickly so you can get the most work done efficiently.
So Ellen, when you're like in your little group, are you kind of your own QC checker? Like, does someone, after you compile everything, does someone come back and like review with you to go over whatever you implemented to see if there's like a better way or anything like that?
Yeah, so when I was in aviation, it's very different than what I do now. So in aviation, because you're flying a plane, and if the code breaks and the plane breaks, people can die. And so for aviation software, they write the test scripts first, and then your software has to run on those tests, and they check every line and every like logic condition to make sure it's running how you want. Well, theoretically it does that. The tests aren't perfect. Sometimes you have to fix the test. And so all of that code, every time you commit something, is checked against that. And then it goes for code review. And so people who are like your level or above check your code. They're more looking for like logic errors, wording errors, that sort of thing. They really don't, they try not to say like, oh, you could have done this way and it would have been better, because they want to be able to like, you are your own software engineer and you can pick how you want to do it. And as long as it works at the end of the day, that's fine. And so my office, since we're just doing dog collars, we do have to do a lot of checking because you don't want to like hurt a dog. But
too much STEM.
Too much STEM. I spent like a month checking our STEM levels. We have like 200 different levels, and so I had to go through every single one and make sure they're doing what we told them to do. So we check our.
Hook it up to a voltmeter, or
I hook it up to. We have like a pulse width modulation line. Is how we do our STEM. So I hook that up to a oscilloscope, and I look at the STEM wave or the waveform, and I make sure like the width of each pulse is correct, the number of pulses, the voltage of the pulse, and the total duration of it is all what we want.
So is that all programmable? I'm guessing in the dog collar, like, hey, we can give the dog 5 pulses or
no,
two pulses for 10 seconds, or
So for my office, our testing is more field testing focused. So at your desk, you're expected to do like reasonable amount of testing that it works, and then you push yours up for code review. 1 or 2 people will look at it. It's pretty much like a glance. It's really up to you to make sure your code works. And if there's a bug, someone else is going to find it, and it's going to be your fault. Not that like we blame people, but we use Git as our code repository, and there's something called Git blame, where you hover over a line and then it says the person's name and when they like committed it. And it's literally called Git blame. So you can see who wrote every line of code and like what they changed. And so yeah, you know who did it. But after that, it's just like committed to the branch. And since my team, we have 3 software engineers on our team actually, because all of us are new basically. And so they just threw us all in the same team. And so there's only 3 people writing code. So it's really easy to keep things in order. In aviation, you could have like 50 people writing code. And so someone could change something on the same file as you at the same time. And so you have issues when you're both trying to push it together. And so if someone gets right before you, then you have to get their change and make sure it didn't break yours. Yeah, so it's a lot more complicated in aviation. But in ours, it's just 3 of us. And so after we write our code, it's also our responsibility to like find bugs. So like my boss is always like, just take the dog collar, walk around with it, put it on your own dog, and like see if bugs pop up, because they will. And then we have a formal software quality assurance, which is like a different group of people, and they have like test plans they run through, and they try like holding buttons, they try doing things like the wrong way and see how it handles. And then after that, we send it out to field testers who do it on their dogs. They give us feedback if it like, because they like our products from before, so we have to like improve, but also make it similar enough to our old products that it's like intuitive of how to use them. So we get feedback for that, and then you make more changes, and then it's all recursive until it goes to manufacturing. But even then, you're fixing bugs, and we'll send out software updates after we've like released the hardware. So it never really ends.
It never ends.
It never ends.
Well, I mean, I don't know, that's pretty interesting. I guess I don't know what I would like more, thinking about it, if I was in, like, I'm the judge, jury, and executioner of my own code, or if it's like in aviation where you'll have like 50 different people checking it.
Yeah, it's definitely has pros and cons. I like that I am not micromanaged at all in my job. I feel as sometimes I have too little management, because it's up to me to look like, no, they literally like at the beginning of a project, they'll like make a massive checklist of everything that needs to be done. And then I just go every day and see like, oh, what needs to be done. I figure out what's highest priority, and I just start working on it. We do have meetings where we like report what we're doing, and someone will say like, hey, like that's not highest priority, work on this instead. But I am kind of left to my own devices most of the time. And so it's like a little intimidating, because at first I like didn't like it, because I'm like, I feel like I'm going to choose wrong. All the times when I would like get an issue, I'm like, I don't know what the best way is. I would like ask for help, and it would like annoy some people, which they should have just told me what I should do. And so they like had like, I was like was so mind-blowing to me that they were going to let someone who just graduated from college pick how to do something. There was like a pretty major project They would take me a few weeks, and they're just like, yeah, whatever you feel is right. And I'm like, okay, like, I don't know what's right, so I'm just going to pick something. And they're like, yeah, that's fine. I'm like, okay.
Well, I mean, I don't know. That's, I guess I can see it both ways. I can see it's like, yeah, that would be intimidating. But then I also feel like, well, this is really good experience for you. You know, like you're going to, if you do decide to go somewhere else, you can say, yeah, I was running this own project. I was making all the decisions. So I can see it both ways.
Yeah. Once I understood that I wasn't going to get like reprimanded for choosing my way and that I would just be like, fine, it was a lot less stressful. So now I don't second think it, but it took me like a month or two to like realize that I could just do whatever I wanted basically.
Within reason. You have a relaxed office environment all the way around. Just
yes, we are very laid back. Very, very late. But the people that are off, like, they're really, really choosy about who they hire. Not to brag about myself, I guess. But I don't know why I got hired. My interview with them was so bad. The guy like the manager asked me like all these questions. A lot of them were hardware, and I answered pretty much to 90% of the questions I don't know.
I mean, that's better than being wrong.
Exactly. And so I guess they like that I was honest, because I think they do throw some like very hard questions that I shouldn't know the answer to. And anytime I did say like, oh yeah, I know what that is, they'd be like, okay, explain it to me. And so, yeah, I don't know, but I definitely didn't think I was going to get the job. But the people in our office are like very self-motivated high achievers. And if they are not, they get fired.
Mm.
Yeah, they took one glance at me and they're like, yeah, buddy, you're not going to make the cut.
So I guess
you
Ellen,
stood by and did nothing, Ellen. You were there. You were like, goodbye.
I recommended you.
Do you feel like your previous internship had a lot to do with you getting hired on at Garmin again for full time?
Yeah, it was everything because like the HR sets it up midsummer that you start applying to the other places in Garmin, and then your manager gives you a review at the end, and they base all of their hiring decisions off of that. So I think the other thing that helped me get this job was my manager liked me, and so he gave me like a good review. And so even though my interview went so badly from my perspective, they could see like, oh, when she's actually working for like a long time, she gets things done. I don't know how I got the job, but I've never felt qualified for any job I've gotten, so that might just be me.
That's that imposter syndrome.
It's that imposter syndrome.
I'm sure you're very well qualified. Garmin's not into making mistakes, I can't imagine.
Yeah, maybe.
As we start wrapping this up, we'd like to ask everybody if they have something that they feel like they weren't told, like what they feel like they should have known going into college. And so is there anything that comes to mind when we say, like, what do you wish you knew before you started college that would help you maybe have an easier path to get to where you're at now?
Yeah, I think I've mentioned a few about you're not as incapable as you think. And if you go into engineering, even if you don't have any experience, you'll be fine if you like put in the work. Engineering is just a lot of work. I think in my job, it would have been nice to know that people don't get fired that easily. There would have been a lot less stress. And getting good grades in college helps you get a job a lot easier.
Yeah, that's exactly what the guy told me when I tried to apply at Garmin. He's like, yeah, you don't have a 3.5? Sorry.
Yeah.
And I was just like, thanks for being honest, man. I'm glad you
No, that is their thing. Yeah, you have to have a 3.5.
Wait, oh, really? Garmin has a cutoff if you don't have a 3.5?
Well, for mechanical, you have to have a 3.5. And then for software, it's like 3.0. But for my office, it was 3.5 because they're more picky. Well, outdoor in general is 3.5.
Gotcha.
Yeah, the dude was sitting there in his Chacos. And he's just like, yeah, bro, you ain't got it. I was like, man,
you don't
I appreciate you. And I left. Stupid career fair didn't do me any good.
Well, you got a job now.
Yeah, no, it worked out. It all worked out how it was supposed to, but there's a few months that I was pretty sad.
Yeah.
Ellen, one of the other things we try to kind of ask to give listeners kind of an idea, like coming out of college, software engineering, what could someone expect to make salary wise? And now obviously it all depends on the company and location, but like what do you think an average across the board software engineer just coming out of school salary wise could expect?
Yeah, it definitely depends on the company. I would say if you're working for like a non-famous company that's smaller, you should expect around like, and if you're not like in a big city, probably around like 6,000 to 7,000. If you're working for like Microsoft or Apple or something, you could probably expect north of six figures starting out. Yeah, but you're like living in San Francisco and your rent is like $3,000. So yeah, there's trade-offs.
I forgot about the old San Francisco.
Exactly. But yeah, you can make a lot of money if you go into the right part of it.
The other thing I kind of also wanted to ask was, in engineering, there's like, you could go take the FE, Fundamentals of Engineering, and then go get your PE for like civil or mechanical or electrical. It's more useful in biomed. The PE really doesn't apply at all. It's more of like a master's in biomed engineering or furthering research or something like that. Is like in computer science, does it really matter if you get a master's, or is it like learning more languages or certificates, or is it just experience based?
They really like experience. There's such a big need for software engineers that I've heard of people who like went to college for something totally different and then did like a 2-week boot camp in some like some internet like website development code language, and then they could get a job like anywhere. So if you want to like do it the really cheap way, you could honestly probably just do like some online certified classes or something. I think you'll get a much better like holistic view if you go to college for it. But they do not care. They like experience. They like that you know theory in your interviews. And that you do it. They really like if you do it in your free time. I don't. I have so many other hobbies.
Oh, goodness.
I do it for 8 hours a day. Nothing sounds worse than doing things on my like Raspberry Pi after work.
That does. Yeah. Oh,
yeah. So if you do it in your free, but a lot of people love it that much. So good for them. But if you do stuff on your own, they definitely like that. I don't. You can get away with not doing it if you like have good grades and actually know what you're talking about.
You can also do it on your own until you get the job and then stop doing it on your own.
Exactly.
Okay, so like for computer science, there's really no point in higher level education.
I wouldn't say that. If I go to grad school, I get paid like a lot more. So
approximately a lot.
Approximately, I don't know what they don't tell you, but I know I get promoted quicker if I get it. So I'm guessing
they don't tell you what it is, but it's like wink, wink. We'll increase your pay.
Exactly. So I definitely plan on going back to grad school within the next like 5 years. To also like learn more, because now that I have like my focus, I would definitely recommend doing it after you've started a job, because now I know this is like the type of work I'll be in my whole life. I'm not going to probably be able to like switch over to like web design, because that's just like nothing I do now. And so I'd probably go back for like a computer engineering degree so I could know more like circuit level stuff. Yeah, so I definitely would say there's a value to it, but you don't need it to get a job. You can get a job without a degree at some companies. Some companies need a degree. But like, I know Google just like goes around to hackathons. Do you guys know what those are? They're like coding competitions.
Yep.
And so if you do really good at those, they'll like scout people from that. So if people just get into coding as a hobby, and then like win a hackathon, they can get a job at Google.
So, for example, for your specific job now, did they require you to have a degree?
Yeah, Garmin requires degrees.
Garmin requires. Okay, all right. Okay.
And then I guess just the hackathons.
Hackathons. I've never done a hackathon. You should do coding competitions in college. I never did because I was too intimidated, and I didn't want everyone to know how bad I was because everyone like sees each other's scores, and I'm like, this would be horrible. Everyone would see that I got last, so I never did it. But you should do it. You probably won't get last.
I was going to say
somebody does have to though, Ellen.
I know.
Don't encourage everybody.
But you can improve. You can improve.
That's.
It's experience.
Hey, well, I mean, I guess Cole, did you have any other questions?
I don't think so.
Well, Ellen, thank you for coming on the podcast. It's been a great interview. It was a pleasure to have you on.
Thank you, guys. This was really fun. I love the podcast. Been listening.
Oh, great.